Maybe you've heard it before. Maybe you've felt it in your bones. Maybe you've even said it yourself. I'm a good woman. I'm kind. I'm loyal. I'm honest. So why am I still single? If that's you, then stay with me, because tonight we're diving deep into something that so many women quietly struggle with but rarely speak about out loud. And if you've ever asked yourself that question, even once, I promise you, by the end of this video, you will see yourself differently. You will understand things about your journey that you've never connected before. You will feel lighter, and maybe finally at peace. Let me start with this powerful truth. Being single is not a punishment. Being single is not a reflection of your worth. Being single is not a sign that something is wrong with you. In fact, many good women remain single not because they are lacking, but because the world does not always recognize or value goodness the way it should. And sometimes goodness requires a different kind of love, a deeper, more intentional love, and that kind of love is rare. So before anything else, type this in the comments. I am worthy of real love. Now take a breath, relax your shoulders, and let's talk. You see, when people talk about dating, they usually talk about attraction, chemistry, timing, but they rarely talk about something deeper. The inner world of a good woman. The standards she holds. The way she loves. The way she thinks. The way she protects her heart. And often, the reasons she remains single are rooted in all these things, not in failure, but in wisdom, growth, and survival. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation where you genuinely liked someone, but the moment you saw a red flag, even a small one, you quietly pulled back? Or maybe you've been told, you're too picky, but deep down you know you're not picky. You're just finally done settling for crumbs? If that's you, listen closely, because everything I'm about to say will feel familiar. Let's start with one of the biggest reasons good girls remain single, and maybe you'll recognize yourself in this one. Good women love deeply, fully, and sincerely. And because they love deeply, they don't play games. They don't entertain situationships. They don't waste time with energy drainers or emotionally unavailable people. This immediately disqualifies a big portion of the dating pool. A good woman has self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and empathy, and ironically, these qualities can make dating harder, not easier. She sees through people. She senses inconsistencies. She picks up on tone, energy, behavior, and intentions, even when the other person hides it well. And instead of ignoring these things, she pays attention. She walks away when something doesn't feel right, not because she's cold, but because she's finally learned to value her peace. Have you ever done that? Walked away even when you liked someone, because you knew it wouldn't end well? If yes, just type this in the comments. My peace matters. Because yes, it does. But let me tell you something else. Many good women remain single because they carry a certain type of heart, a heart that has been stretched and bruised by past experiences. And that heart now has standards that came from pain, boundaries that came from healing, and wisdom that came from lessons. It's not that she's guarded. She's just no longer willing to bleed for someone who won't even bring a bandage. Before I go further, let me share a story, a real one, about someone I'll call Tina. Tina is the kind of woman who loves with intention. She is soft, kind, supportive, and fiercely loyal. She had a long relationship in her early 20s with a man who promised her the world, but delivered her heartbreak. He cheated multiple times, but every time he cried and apologized, she forgave him. Not because she was weak, but because she believed people could change. But the final blow came when she discovered messages between him and another woman, not just romantic messages, but the kind of messages that show emotional intimacy. The kind that revealed he had checked out long before she realized. That moment broke her in a way she didn't think possible. She didn't just lose a boyfriend, she lost the future she thought they were building. She lost trust, not only in him, but in herself, in her ability to choose correctly. After that, Tina made a promise to herself. Never again. Never again will I give my all to someone who gives me half. And that promise became her protection. Years later, men came into her life, good-looking men, successful men, funny men, but the moment she sensed inconsistency or emotional immaturity, she walked away without hesitation. People around her started saying things like, "You're too picky," or "You need to settle down," or "Maybe your standards are too high." But they didn't know her story. They didn't know the nights she cried into her pillow. They didn't know how long it took her to rebuild herself from the inside out. They didn't know the emotional scars she now carries like invisible tattoos. Tina isn't single because she's picky. She's single because she finally learned to choose herself first. And maybe, you're Tina in your own way. Now let's go deeper. Another reason good girls remain single is because they intimidate the wrong men. Yes, I said what I said. A good woman doesn't need to be loud or aggressive to intimidate someone. Her confidence, her stability, her kindness, her standards, her independence, her emotional maturity. These traits alone can make insecure people run. A lot of men say they want a good woman, but what they really want is a good woman who makes them feel like the hero, the savior, the leader. But a truly good woman doesn't need saving. She doesn't need fixing. She doesn't need someone to complete her. She needs someone to complement her. Some men don't know what to do with a woman who knows who she is. A woman who communicates clearly. A woman who asks for respect. A woman who doesn't tolerate nonsense. A woman whose value cannot be manipulated. Have you ever been told, "You're too strong, too independent," or "You don't act like you need a man"? If yes, take a moment and type this affirmation in the comments. My strength is a blessing, not a burden. But let's be honest, it's not just men who misunderstand good women. Sometimes society misunderstands them. Society praises women who are patient, nurturing, forgiving, and self-sacrificing, but rarely talks about how those same qualities can make them targets for users, narcissists, manipulators, and emotionally unavailable partners. A good woman often loves from a place of purity, and some people take advantage of that. So over time, she becomes cautious. Not broken, cautious. Not bitter, selective. Not closed off, intentional. Good women often develop this quiet radar where they sense when someone wants access to their energy but not their heart. When someone wants the benefits of them but not the responsibility. When someone wants comfort but not commitment. And because she can sense this, she stays single. Now let's talk about something deeply personal. Something many women don't admit openly. Good girls often struggle to receive. They're the givers, the helpers, the listeners, the healers. They're the ones who check on everyone else, but forget to check on themselves. They show up for people even when no one shows up for them. But when someone tries to love them, truly love them, they sometimes struggle. Because real love requires vulnerability. It requires opening the doors you sealed shut. It requires letting someone see the parts of you that are still healing, still trembling, still fragile. Many good women remain single because they are afraid of choosing wrong again. They're afraid of loving someone who won't value it. They're afraid of being taken for granted. They're afraid of repeating old patterns. If this resonates with you, type this affirmation. I am open to healthy love. Let that sink in. And now, let's address something many people avoid discussing. Good girls sometimes fall for the wrong people. Repeatedly. Why? Because they see potential. Because they believe in growth. Because they want to help. Because they are natural healers. Because they tend to love based on who someone could be, instead of who they actually are. Tell me if this has ever happened to you. You fall for someone who's charming, funny, emotionally wounded, or misunderstood. You think, maybe I can help him heal. You pour into him. You encourage him. You support him. You invest emotionally. But in the end, he leaves, or he disappoints you, or he takes advantage of your kindness. And you're left wondering, why do I keep choosing the wrong people? It's not because you're foolish. It's because your heart is wired to nurture. But nurturing the wrong person drains you instead of building you. And after that happens a few times, you start to withdraw. You stop trying. You stay single. Not because you can't find love, but because you refuse to repeat the cycle. Now here's another truth. Good girls often have full lives already. They have careers, goals, hobbies, dreams, responsibilities, families, passions, and routines. They aren't sitting around waiting for someone to arrive and give their life meaning. Their life already has meaning. So when a man enters her world, he has to add value, not create chaos. She has standards. She has boundaries. She has expectations. This doesn't make her demanding. This makes her self-aware. And honestly, not every man is prepared for that. A good woman doesn't need your money. She doesn't need your validation. She doesn't need your attention if it comes with disrespect. She doesn't need your presence if it comes with inconsistency. She doesn't need your love if it requires her to shrink herself. She is single because she refuses to accept less than what she knows she deserves. Let me pause here and ask you something important. Have you ever dimmed your light to make someone else feel comfortable? Have you ever pretended to be less emotional, less ambitious, or less opinionated so you wouldn't scare him off? If you have, I want you to write in the comments. I will never shrink myself again. Because from this moment forward, you shouldn't. And now, let's touch on something many won't admit. Good women often get overlooked because they are consistent. They're not the loudest. They're not the most dramatic. They're not the ones creating chaos or confusion. They are steady, secure, and sincere. And sometimes society glamorizes toxicity. It glamorizes drama. It glamorizes hard-to-get behavior. It glamorizes the chase, not the longevity. But a good woman is not here to be a chase. She's here to be a partner. She doesn't give roller coaster emotions. She gives stability. She gives peace. She gives comfort. She gives growth. And unfortunately, many people spend years chasing entertainment instead of commitment. They choose excitement instead of depth. They choose temporary pleasure instead of lasting partnership. So the good woman waits. Not because she's desperate. Not because she's alone. But because she refuses to be chosen as an option when she deserves to be chosen as a priority. Now let's shift to something a little more internal. Good girls often have high emotional intelligence, and that means they recognize early when someone is not aligned with their future. She pays attention to how a man speaks about women. She pays attention to how he treats waiters, drivers, strangers. She listens to the subtle clues in his conversations, how he handles conflict, responsibility, finances, purpose. And when she realizes someone isn't aligned, she can't pretend she doesn't see it. Her intuition is too loud. Her spirit is too sensitive. Her self-awareness is too strong. So she steps back. Not because she's picky, but because she's purposeful. Let me ask you this. Have you ever walked away from someone even though everything looked perfect on paper, but your soul felt uneasy? If yes, take a moment to write this affirmation in the comments. I trust my intuition. And now, let's talk about a reason many people don't consider. Good girls often focus on personal growth, and growth requires seasons of solitude. Sometimes you're single because you're being prepared. Sometimes you're single because you're being refined. Sometimes you're single because you are being positioned for something bigger than what you've experienced before. You're growing. You're healing. You're evolving. You're unlearning old habits. You're building new patterns. You're elevating your mindset. And love requires that you bring the best version of yourself, not perfection, but wholeness. Sometimes God, life, or destiny, whatever you believe in, removes certain people from your life because they cannot go with you to your next level. Your journey is sacred. Your growth is sacred. Your peace is sacred. And sometimes love waits for alignment. Now let's talk about one last big reason before we go into section 2. Good girls often want a love that feels like home, not a love that drains, confuses, or exhausts them. She's looking for emotional safety, trust, friendship, consistency, loyalty, laughter, partnership, spiritual and emotional connection. And those things take time to find. Those things require maturity. Those things require a man who is ready, not a man who is available. A good woman is single because she is waiting for someone who sees her worth without needing to be convinced. Someone who shows up consistently. Someone who pursues her respectfully. Someone who chooses her intentionally. Someone who values her deeply. And let me tell you something. That kind of love is worth waiting for. Before we close section 1, repeat this out loud and type it in the comments. I deserve a love that feels safe. Take a breath. Let these words settle in your heart, because everything we've discussed so far is the foundation. Section 2 will take all of this deeper, including the psychology behind why good women attract certain types of men, the hidden patterns that keep them single, how to break those patterns, how to position yourself for healthy love, and how to recognize aligned partners. Now that we've laid the foundation, let's go even deeper. Because the truth is, many good women don't remain single for just one reason. It's a combination of emotional patterns, psychological wiring, childhood experiences, personality traits, and the way they navigate relationships. So let's begin where section 1 left off, with the idea of alignment. A good woman doesn't want a shallow love. She wants the kind of love that meets her soul, not just her body. And because of that, she doesn't rush. But here's the complicated part. Her readiness for deep love can actually make shallow men disappear fast. Let me explain. Emotionally mature women are mirrors. When a man with unresolved wounds meets a woman who knows her worth, her standards reflect back to him the areas he hasn't grown in yet. And instead of growing, many choose to run. This is why good girls often attract emotionally unavailable men, and then repel them. It's not that she did something wrong. It's that her emotional depth exposes their emotional gaps. Have you ever noticed that the kinder you are, the more some people take advantage? Or the more patient you are, the more some people assume they can get away with anything? That's not your fault. It's a sign of your nature and the way weaker minds react to strong hearts. Now let's explore the psychology behind this. Good women are nurturers by nature. They are fixers, encouragers, helpers. When they see someone struggling, they want to lift them up. This often stems from childhood. Maybe she had to take care of siblings. Maybe she grew up with emotional responsibility too early. Maybe she learned that love means giving, giving, giving. So even as an adult, she gravitates toward people she can pour into. People who need help. People who are lost, confused, or broken. She doesn't do it consciously, it's instinctive. And guess who is drawn to nurturers? People who are emotionally dependent. People who lack stability. People looking for someone to save them. People who want support, but not accountability. So the good girl ends up in relationships where she gives too much and receives too little. Where she invests deeply and gets inconsistency. Where she shows love and gets uncertainty. Where she tries harder and gets nothing in return. And eventually, she reaches a breaking point. She realizes she can't keep trying to rescue grown adults. She realizes she can't keep choosing men, she needs to build from the ground up. She realizes she can't keep pouring into relationships that pour nothing back. So she stops. She withdraws. She says, "I'd rather be alone than drained." And that's the moment her singleness becomes intentional. Many people look at good women and think they're single because no one wants them, but the truth is the opposite. She has become too wise to choose wrong. Now let's talk about something no one warns you about. When a good woman becomes self-sufficient, her standards naturally rise. She pays her own bills. She takes care of herself. She heals herself emotionally. She learns how to be happy alone. She builds her own routine, her own joy, her own peace. So when someone approaches her, she subconsciously asks, "Can you bring peace to my life, or will you bring chaos? Can you add value, or will you drain me? Can you meet me where I am, or will you pull me backward? Are you consistent, or do you only show up when you feel like it?" If you've ever felt this way, write the affirmation. My standards protect my heart, because they truly do. Now let's dive into another reason good girls remain single, and this one might hit home. They mistake being private for being invisible. A lot of good women lead quiet lives. They don't go out often. They don't post thirst traps. They don't entertain random inbox messages. They don't date casually. They're not loud or flashy. Their goodness is subtle, calm, and quiet. And sadly, quiet women sometimes get overlooked because louder personalities take up all the social space. It's not that she's hiding. She's just not interested in attention for attention's sake. But here's the beautiful part. The right man will notice the quiet woman in the room. The right man will see the woman who isn't trying to be seen. The right man will recognize substance over noise. So if you've ever felt invisible, type this affirmation. The right person will see me clearly. Now let's talk about another hidden reason. Good girls have boundaries, and boundaries filter out 90% of the wrong people. When you're a good woman with emotional maturity, you have certain standards like, you don't accept inconsistent communication. You don't tolerate disrespect. You don't entertain half-hearted effort. You say no to situationships. You don't beg for anyone's attention. You don't chase. You don't accept crumbs. And because many people aren't willing to meet those standards, they fall away. But here's the mistake many good women make. They think this means they are too much. You are not too much. Your boundaries simply eliminate men who are not ready for commitment. Now something else happens too. Good women rarely settle for almost. Almost committed. Almost respectful. Almost available. Almost consistent. Almost ready. A good woman knows that almost is still no. And that wisdom, unfortunately, reduces the dating pool dramatically, but it saves her heart. If you agree, type, "I will not settle for almost." Now let's shift into something deeper. Good girls often desire emotional intimacy before physical intimacy, and that intimidates people seeking casual relationships. Modern dating is full of people who want your time, but not your heart. People who want your body, but not your soul. People who want convenience, not commitment. But a good woman wants connection. She wants understanding. She wants depth. She wants a bond rooted in trust, not lust. This makes her too serious for people who only want fun, but the truth is, she's just aligned with long-term love. Now let's talk about another rarely discussed reason. Good girls get tired, emotionally. Tired of explaining themselves. Tired of being taken for granted. Tired of meeting people who don't understand emotional maturity. Tired of people who can't communicate. Tired of inconsistent effort. Tired of almost relationships. Tired of healing from connections that never even became official. So eventually, she chooses peace over partnership. She chooses solitude over stress. She chooses healing over trying again too soon. And guess what? This is healthy. Now let's switch gears to a story, a real one. I once heard about a woman named Sarah. She had a pattern. Every man she dated treated her wonderfully at first, then slowly became distant. They loved her kindness. They loved her compassion. They loved her generosity. But they didn't love her in the way she needed. She kept asking, "What is wrong with me?" But one day, her therapist told her something that changed everything. The problem is not your love, it's where you place it. Sarah had been giving wife-level loyalty to men who barely earned boyfriend-level effort. She was nurturing men who never nurtured her. She was showing up for people who didn't show up for themselves. And once she realized this, she stopped rushing into relationships. She started watching people instead of believing their potential. She learned to receive instead of always giving. She learned to ask, "What does this person add to my life?" Slowly, her entire pattern changed. That's the shift many good women need, learning that love is not proven through sacrifice. Love is not proven through fixing people. Love is not proven through how much pain you can endure. Love is proven through reciprocity, consistency, mutual effort, shared values, emotional safety, respect, commitment. If this resonates with you, type, "I choose reciprocal love." Now let's talk about patience, because patience plays a powerful role in why good women remain single. Good women are often willing to wait for the right connection. They don't force things. They don't rush timelines. They don't chase relationships that aren't aligned. And here's the part that many people misunderstand. Waiting is not weakness, it's wisdom. The woman who rushes out of fear ends up settling. But the woman who waits out of self-respect ends up with a healthier, more fulfilling relationship. If you are waiting, let me speak this affirmation over you. My patience will be rewarded. Type it too. Now let's go into something more sensitive. Some good girls remain single because they experienced emotional trauma, and they're still healing from it. Maybe she had a toxic relationship. Maybe she had a narcissistic partner. Maybe she was cheated on. Maybe she was manipulated. Maybe she suffered emotional abandonment. Maybe she grew up without healthy examples of love. Maybe she learned unhealthy attachment patterns. Maybe she doesn't trust easily anymore. Healing takes time. Love requires openness. And some hearts are still rebuilding their strength. A good woman doesn't want to enter a relationship half-healed, half-present, half-confident. She wants to bring her best self, so she waits. Not because she's unavailable, but because she's becoming. If this resonates with you, right? I give myself permission to heal. Let's keep going. Another truth is this. Good women sometimes confuse independence with emotional walls. There's a difference between saying, "I don't need a man," and "I don't want the wrong man." One comes from strength. The other comes from fear. A lot of good women were forced to become strong, forced to become independent, forced to survive on their own, forced to protect themselves. And without realizing it, they built emotional walls so high that no one could climb them, not even the right person. And sometimes what she calls standards is actually fear in disguise. Fear of losing control, fear of getting hurt again, fear of vulnerability, fear of trusting the wrong person. But love requires softness. It requires openness. It requires trust. Not blind trust, wise trust. So here's an affirmation for that. I am strong, but I allow myself to be loved. Now here's another reality. Good girls remain single because they attract men who admire them, but don't pursue them. Some men admire her beauty. Some admire her confidence. Some admire her independence. Some admire her kindness. But admiration is not pursuit. Admiration is not commitment. Admiration is not consistency. Many good women stay single simply because no one intentional has stepped forward yet. And you know what? That's okay. Because you don't need 100 men. You only need one. One who sees you. One who chooses you. One who respects you. One who values you. One who loves you the way you deserve. Now let's talk about readiness. Sometimes the good woman is single because the man meant for her is still becoming the man he needs to be. Maybe he's building himself. Maybe he's healing. Maybe he's growing emotionally. Maybe he's learning how to communicate. Maybe he's maturing. Maybe he's strengthening his character. Maybe he's aligning with his purpose. And when the time is right, their paths will cross. Love is often about timing, not just desire. Now let's bring it all together with the most important reason of all. Good girls remain single because they want love that is real. Love that is lasting. Love that is healthy. Love that is mutual. love that feels like home. And real love takes time. Real love requires the right person. Real love requires alignment. Real love requires readiness. Real love requires patience. Real love requires healing. Real love requires two people choosing each other intentionally. Now, as we come to the end of this long journey tonight, I want to speak directly to you. If you are a good woman who is still single, hear me clearly. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not unworthy. You are not lacking. You are not hard to love. You are not too much. You are not impossible. You are simply a woman who refuses to settle for less than the love you give, and that is something to be proud of. Now repeat these affirmations with me. I am worthy of a healthy love. I am becoming the best version of myself. I attract the right partner at the right time. My heart is deserving of peace and loyalty. The right love will find me. Say it. Type it. Believe it. Because this is your truth. As we close this video, let me ask you this. What part of this message spoke to you the most? Was it the fear of choosing wrong? Was it the emotional exhaustion? Was it the boundaries? Was it the intelligence and intuition? Was it the desire for deep love? Was it the story of Tina or Sarah? Or was it the reminder that nothing is wrong with you? Tell me in the comments, let's talk. Your story matters here. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss content like this. Share this video with a friend who needs to hear these words. And after this, check out the other videos on the channel. You might be surprised how much you learn about love, healing, self-worth, and attraction. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for listening with your heart. And remember, being a good woman is not a disadvantage, it's your superpower. The right person will recognize it. The right person will cherish it. And the right person will never let you question your worth. Until next time, take care of your heart.